Celebration of love, the biggest announcement. Tonight, a quiet secret finally stepped into the light, and the world felt softer, warmer, as if love itself paused to witness the moment. For years, my heart carried a truth, too precious to speak, too delicate to share, a truth that lived quietly, between hope and destiny, between longing and patience. But today, the silence broke, and love, after hiding in the corners of my chest, rose like dawn after a long night, and claimed its place in front of the world. This celebration is not the sparkle of lights, not the noise of music, not the applause of faces. It is the quiet tremble of two souls finally choosing to walk the same road, to hold the same future, to breathe the same promise. I looked at her today, and something inside me whispered, "This is it. This is the moment your heart has been waiting to announce." Her smile wasn't loud. Her eyes weren't dramatic. Yet in that silent softness was every answer I have searched for all my life. Today I announce it, not to impress the world, but to honor the woman who made my heart believe again, who turned my doubts into clarity, my loneliness into warmth, and my quiet fears into hope. This is the celebration of love, the beginning of a promise, the first chapter of the biggest announcement my heart has ever made. Love did not arrive with fireworks or thunder. It came softly, like evening light, slipping gently across a quiet room, like a prayer answered, without making a sound. For so long, my heart carried its secret, wrapped carefully between breaths, protected from the noise of the world, not because I was afraid, but because some love is too sacred to expose before it's ready. But today, everything changed. I watched her step forward, a little shy, a little uncertain, yet glowing with a tenderness that felt like home. She didn't need jewels. She didn't need grand gestures. Her presence alone was the celebration. Her smile carried the warmth of someone who has waited patiently, loved quietly, hoped bravely. And as she stood beside me, something inside me whispered, "This is the woman the announcement was made for. This is the heart you have always belonged to." Her eyes met mine, steady, soft, endless. And suddenly the world blurred, lost its noise, lost its rush, lost everything, except the truth between us. This moment wasn't about perfection, wasn't about showing off, wasn't about the world at all. It was about finally admitting that my soul had chosen her, long before my words ever did. And so, with the gentlest courage, with the quietest certainty, I stepped into the truth, our truth, and let the world hear what my heart has known for a lifetime. Today felt different, as if time paused, as if destiny leaned in to listen closely, as if the universe itself held its breath. For the moment our truth finally stepped into the light. She stood beside me, quiet, graceful, not trying to shine, yet glowing in a way only love can explain. There was no fear in her eyes, no doubt in her smile, only a softness that could calm storms, only a warmth that could melt years of silence. I thought of all the moments I had loved her quietly, from a distance, behind walls, inside unspoken prayers. Love grows differently when it waits, when it respects timing, when it chooses patience over rushing. And today, that love finally walked forward, unafraid of the world, unafraid of the noise, unafraid of the future. I saw the way her hands trembled, not from uncertainty, but from the weight of a moment she had dreamed of silently. And I realized everything she carried inside her. The hope she never voiced. The loyalty she never demanded praise for. The faith she held, even when she didn't know if I felt the same. This announcement is not just a declaration. It is a promise, a confession, a surrender, a promise that I will choose her again and again, even on the days when the world feels heavy. A confession that she has always been the one, even before I had the courage to admit it, and a surrender to a future that finally feels right, finally feels peaceful, finally feels like home, because she is in it. The moment I spoke her name, a quiet calm settled inside me, as if my heart had been waiting its whole life just to breathe in that truth. For years, I carried feelings I could not explain, emotions too deep to fit into simple words. I thought silence would protect what I felt, but silence only taught me how powerful love becomes when it grows in the dark. She never rushed me, never questioned me, never demanded anything. She simply stayed, like a soft light in a long night, like a gentle hand resting on the edge of my fears. And today, standing beside me, she smiled the same quiet smile that once healed my loneliness. Without even trying, her presence felt like destiny. Steady, certain, inevitable. There was no noise in her. No show, no performance. Just a woman whose love had carried me silently to this moment of truth. When I looked at her, the world blurred around us. Only her heartbeat mattered. Only her eyes held my future. Only her softness felt like the beginning of something sacred. This announcement is not for the world. It is for her. For the woman who loved me without conditions, who waited without questioning, who believed without proof. She deserves a love that stands proudly beside her. A love that speaks boldly. A love that finally says, "You were always the one I was meant to return to." And today, I return, fully, completely, with a heart finally brave enough to celebrate her the way she always deserved. Today, my heart spoke louder than my voice, and for the first time, the world finally heard what only my soul had known for years. As she stood beside me, I saw everything I had ever searched for: peace without effort, comfort without words, and love without demands. She didn't shine like a star. She glowed like dawn, quiet but inevitable. I remembered the days when I hid my feelings because I thought love needed perfect timing, perfect answers, perfect courage. But love only needed honesty. And today, I finally gave it that. She looked at me with eyes that held no question, only a soft understanding, as if she always knew this moment would come. Even when I doubted myself, her love had patience, the kind that waits without losing faith, the kind that stays without needing promises. And it was that patience that brought us here, to this announcement, this beginning, this truth. When I spoke, her breath trembled, and in that tiny moment, I saw the weight of her silent prayers, her hidden hopes, her unspoken love, finally being answered. This celebration is more than joy. It is relief. It is destiny. It is the quiet victory of two hearts finally choosing each other out loud. And as the world listened, I held one truth inside me. She was never an option. She was always the ending my heart was destined for. The world may call it an announcement, but for me, It felt like a long-kept promise, finally finding its voice. She didn't know how many nights I stayed awake, wondering if love like this was meant for me. How many times I whispered her name without letting the sound escape. How many moments I carried her in quiet corners of my heart. But today, I told the world what my soul had whispered 1,000 times. She stood beside me with the same softness that once held my broken days together. Her presence was calm, a calm that felt like truth, like destiny gently unfolding, like life giving me a love I didn't think I deserved. I saw her hand shake slightly, not out of fear, but out of the weight of finally being chosen. Publicly, proudly, completely. And in that tremble was a story she never told. A story of waiting, of surviving quiet heartbreaks, of hoping for a moment she wasn't sure would come. When her eyes met mine, the world disappeared. No noise, no faces, just two hearts, finally aligned in the open. This celebration isn't about luxury, isn't about attention, isn't about proving anything. It is about honoring a woman whose love never demanded a stage, but always deserved one. Today I didn't choose her. I revealed her, because my heart chose her long ago. I'm just finally brave enough to say it out loud, to stand beside her without fear, to let the world witness the truth she carried, silently, faithfully, beautifully. Today felt like a quiet miracle, the kind that doesn't arrive with noise, but settles softly on the heart, like a long-awaited blessing. As she stood beside me, I realized how many years this moment had been growing. In silence, in patience, in the gentle corners of two hearts learning each other, without rushing fate. She didn't need grand words to make this day beautiful. Her presence alone was enough to turn the air warm, enough to make my heart beat steady, enough to remind me that love doesn't always need drama. Sometimes it only needs truth. I remembered every moment I wanted to tell her, every confession I swallowed quietly, every feeling I hid behind a calm face, not because she wasn't worthy, but because she was too precious to risk with an unready heart. But today, readiness finally met courage, and courage finally met destiny. When I spoke, I saw her eyes soften, a softness that carried years of unspoken hope. It wasn't surprise in her gaze, it was recognition, as if her soul already knew that this day was always ours, waiting just beyond the horizon. Her smile trembled, like someone who had survived storms and was finally seeing sunlight. And in that trembling smile, I saw everything I ever needed: a home, a peace, a future. This announcement isn't the beginning of our story. It is the moment our story finally stepped out of the shadows. Proud, certain, complete. Today, I didn't just tell the world about her. I honored the woman who waited quietly, who loved gently, who believed bravely, and who finally stands beside me, exactly where she belongs. The night was velvet black, sprinkled with stars, as if the sky itself wanted to witness the chapter about to unfold. The palace stood silent, not in fear, not in confusion, but in the sacred hush that comes before miracles. Word had spread everywhere. Something extraordinary was going to happen. Something the world had been waiting for. Something whispered in rumors, prayed for in hearts, and felt in the wind, long before it was spoken aloud. Tonight, the celebration of love was about to become a revelation. He stepped onto the balcony, dressed in soft gold and midnight blue, a symbol of strength and serenity. A king in appearance, but a poet in soul. The moonlight rested on his shoulders, like blessings of destiny, and the silence bowed to him. In gentle respect, his heartbeat was steady, yet he knew the moment he would speak, the world would never be the same. Behind him, she walked softly, the woman who had traveled through storms, waited through years, and loved him without asking for crowns, titles, or promises. Her footsteps were light, yet the path behind her was heavy with sacrifices that only the brave can make. Her dress flowed like liquid silver, and her eyes carried galaxies no astronomer could ever map. She looked at him, and her world stilled. He looked at her, and his soul breathed again. The crowd below waited, thousands beneath the balcony, millions watching across screens, but they all felt the same heartbeat, as if love itself had woven every soul together for this one sacred night. He took her hand, and in the moment their fingers touched, light seemed to bloom in the air, not from lamps, not from torches, but from two hearts that had finally chosen to shine, without fear, without hiding, without hesitation. He whispered to her, but the world felt it anyway. Tonight, the story becomes truth. The night had changed. No longer ordinary, no longer silent. It carried the weight of every heartbeat that had waited for this moment. He stood beside her, the man who had learned that love is not possession, but patience. The woman beside him was not just beautiful. She was resilient, a keeper of dreams, and a healer of storms. Every step she took felt like a chapter of a story, written by destiny itself. Every glance between them spoke volumes words could never reach. It was a language older than time, a language of souls, of promises, of hearts entwined. Before the first word was ever spoken, he whispered softly, barely audible, but somehow the world felt it. You have always been my answer, my calm after every chaos, my light in the darkest hours. She looked at him, and the years of waiting, the nights of quiet longing, the silent prayers, all converged in the tender curve of her smile. The crowd held its breath again. Even the stars seemed to pause, to witness a love that could not be rushed, a love that deserved its moment. He raised her hand, showing the world that this was not just an announcement. It was a declaration, a promise, etched into eternity. I choose you, he said, not for the applause, not for the recognition, not for the fleeting eyes of the world. I choose you because every part of me has been waiting for you alone. Her eyes shimmered, reflecting the lights above, the glimmer of fireworks, but most of all, the light of a heart, finally understood, finally honored, finally loved as it deserved. Tonight was not just a celebration. It was the beginning of forever, the unveiling of a truth, that love, in its purest form, cannot hide any longer. The music of the night softly faded, leaving behind the gentle hum of hearts aligned, of breaths synchronized, of souls finally meeting. Without fear or hesitation, he held her close, not as a king holds a subject, but as a man holds the one he has longed for. In silence, in prayers, in every moment of waiting, she leaned into him, her hair brushing his chest, her warmth mingling with his, and for a moment, the world disappeared. All that remained was the quiet understanding that love like this was too profound to be rushed, too sacred to be hidden, too timeless to be contained. He whispered promises he had carried in his soul for years, words shaped by patience, tempered by hope, and illuminated by unwavering devotion. "From this moment onward," he said, "every heartbeat, every breath, every dream is yours." She smiled, and that smile carried the triumph of survival, the grace of faith, the depth of every secret she had kept, the beauty of every silent prayer that had been answered tonight. The people watching below felt it too, the truth of a love that endured, the miracle of two hearts finally stepping forward together, not as whispers or shadows, but as living proof that destiny and devotion can merge into eternity. Fireworks painted the sky, but they were secondary to the light in their eyes. The music of celebration was nothing compared to the quiet song of two souls finally home in each other. He kissed her hand again, softly, reverently, and the world seemed to pause, as if every heartbeat on earth had synchronized to honor this one sacred moment. Tonight was not just a night. It was a vow, a promise, a celebration of the kind of love that waits, that endures, that chooses forever, before the world even knows it exists. The night had grown deeper, but their hearts burned brighter, a quiet fire that no darkness could ever touch or diminish. He held her hand, feeling the warmth that had been waiting for him all these years. It was a warmth that healed every doubt, every fear, every moment of loneliness he had ever known. She looked up at him, her eyes glistening with the truth of patience rewarded, of love proven resilient, of a journey that finally reached its long-awaited destination. The crowd below watched in awe, but they were not the stars of this night. They were witnesses to something far greater, a love that had endured without need for recognition, a devotion that required no proof, a connection that destiny itself had shaped. He leaned closer, his voice low, yet carrying through the still air. "You have been my guide, my comfort, my quiet strength. Tonight I give you all of me, not for show, not for ceremony, but because my heart has always known this is where it belongs." Tears shone in her eyes, not of weakness, but of triumph, of survival, of love finally spoken aloud. The fireworks erupted, but their glow paled before the radiance emanating from their union. Every whisper of wind seemed to carry the message: love, when true, cannot be hidden. It demands to be celebrated. He raised her hand once more, kissing it softly, reverently, as if sealing the vow that had been written in their souls long before the first word was ever exchanged. Tonight, the world watched and learned a simple truth. Some love is not ordinary. Some love is destiny. Some love is a celebration that lasts beyond time itself. The stars above seemed to bend closer, as if to witness a story that had been years in the making. Every breath between them was a promise fulfilled, every heartbeat a quiet declaration of eternity. He looked at her, the woman who had given silently, waited patiently, loved without conditions. Her presence alone made the night sacred. Her smile made the air shimmer with hope. He spoke softly, but every word was a thunderclap in the universe. "I choose you. I have always chosen you. I will always choose you. No storm, no shadow, no moment of doubt will ever change this truth." She trembled, not with fear, but with the weight of love, finally recognized, finally spoken, finally celebrated openly. The crowd watched silently, captivated not by grandeur, but by the essence of two hearts merging. With the elegance of inevitability, he held her hand tighter, as if to show her that the years of waiting, of silent prayers, of whispered dreams, had all led to this single moment. A moment where love no longer needed to hide. The night was filled with music, laughter, and fireworks. Yet all of it faded beside the quiet symphony of two souls finally aligned. "I give you my future," he said, "my loyalty, my heart, my life, because you have always been my beginning, my middle, and my end." Her eyes shone with gratitude, courage, and triumph. She leaned close, and for the first time, they breathed as one, without hesitation, without doubt, without the need to hide. Tonight was not just an announcement. It was the proof that true love cannot be postponed, cannot be silenced, cannot ever be denied. And as they stood together, the world learned that destiny is patient, that love is eternal, and that hearts meant to unite will always find their way. The night had reached its pinnacle, but their hearts soared even higher. Every whisper, every touch, every glance spoke louder than any words the world could offer. He held her close, as if holding all the years of waiting, all the silent prayers, all the hidden dreams that had led them to this moment. Her warmth rested against his chest, a quiet proof that patience and love never go unrewarded. She looked at him, and in her eyes was the reflection of every shared smile, every shared tear, every secret promise, kept without uttering a sound. The crowd below watched with awe, but the real celebration was not of fireworks, not of applause, not of lights. It was in the quiet strength of two souls, finally choosing each other, finally stepping forward, without fear, without hesitation, without reservation. He spoke softly, so only she could hear, though the whole world did anyway. "You are my destiny, my peace, my home. Everything I am, and everything I hope to be, belongs to you." Her smile trembled, shining brighter than any star above. Tears of joy fell silently, a testament to the journey that had brought them here. Through waiting, through patience, through unwavering faith, the night itself seemed to sigh, with relief, with celebration, with a quiet knowing that love, when true, always finds its moment. And as they stood together, hands intertwined, hearts aligned, the world witnessed a simple truth. Some love is timeless, some love is inevitable, and some love, the kind worth celebrating, changes everything, simply by existing.